Well, all right, so I'm back, obviously, and lost half the people in the room. So this might end up being a super short workshop. Who knows? Um, yeah, well, and apparently the problem was a Windows update. So freaking Windows update strikes again. They had got that problem resolved with Windows 10, but now it seems like it's back with Windows 11. Although I'm pretty sure this is the first time a Windows update, has caused problems like this with Windows 11. So hopefully it's just a one-off. We'll obviously see how it goes. So, all right, enough complaining here. We're here to answer some Bloodhound questions here in this workshop. So, yeah. Uh, so let's see here. And yes, the mouse is working again. So yeah. I mean the mouse always moved around the screen. It's just all the windows were frozen, so I couldn't drag anything. I couldn't move any windows. I couldn't click on anything. Nothing was clickable. Yeah, it was really really bizarre behavior. Yeah, really bizarre. And yeah. So, anyways, it took me a little longer to get back up because of the pending Windows updates, but all right, so I'm here, and let's see. All right, so I do see another new person in the room. All right, so hopefully, gentlemen, you have some Bloodhound questions for me, and actually, do what we're all here to do, which is, to show you how to build stuff in Bloodhound. So, yeah, yeah. So Bob's saying, yeah, you can turn on the delay thing, right? But it only delays it for a week, you know. And the updates weren't installed; they're in a pending state, So yeah, Windows was waiting to install them. That's what that's what seems to be the biggest disconnect is the fact that you didn't actually allow Windows to install them yet. So why should they be doing any kind of weird interference? Yeah, and I have used the delay, but again, it only delays it for a week. And um, and I do restart my computer every Sunday. So I leave my computer on 24/6, and the 7 is Sunday for me, and I always restart my computer on Sundays. But sometimes those Windows updates do strike a little sooner rather than later. So let's see here. Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, Bob's saying that you can actually delay for up to 4 weeks now. Nice. But yeah, again, I do restart my computer every Sunday. So that way, Sunday night, I fire everything back up, fire up NinjaTrader and all my other programs, so I'm ready to go to work on Monday morning. And I do that just because I still don't trust Windows to run reliably for longer than a week. I know it does. Windows 10 was a nice big improvement in reliability, but still, I think it's probably just a good idea to get in the habit of at least allowing Windows to restart once a week to help reduce issues during the week when you're working. So, yeah. All right. Again, let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay, Melroy has a question for me. Excellent. So let's get this workshop started here. All right. So Melroy's asking a question about measuring the MACD indicator and the diff. So, all right, let's get that MACD on here. And let's see where to go. There it is. All right, so the MACD, and more specifically, the histogram. So let's turn the MACD off and turn the histogram on. All right, so Melroy, so understand you want to identify if the histogram is rising or falling, increasing or decreasing, and you want to measure like 0.2. So I'm not exactly sure what this 0.2, what you're asking about, that includes that 0.2 value, but I'm guessing, are you trying to identify when the histogram makes a step higher or a step, let's see, yeah, maybe like a step lower that's greater than 0.2? Is that what your question is about? How do you identify if if an indicator, is increasing by 0.2 or more, or decreasing by 0.2 or more? Is that what your question's about? All right. Yeah, so Malroy's asking, would that be the slope solver? So it depends on exactly the specific nature of your question. So, yeah, so if you can answer, my question, then I'll know exactly what you're talking about. So, while I'm waiting on the answer here, I'll just explain that the slope solver, just allows you to identify if the slope is increasing or decreasing. And let's see here. And actually, yeah, you know what? The slope solver. So if you're 0.2, again, what I'm guessing you're asking about how this 0.2 value plays into your question is, I think you're asking how to identify when the MACD steps up, increases more than 0.2 or decreases more than 0.2. And so, yeah, you can do that with the slope solver. Yeah, so let's get Bloodhound open and actually get today's workshop file started. All right, so Bloodhound open. First thing we want to do is go and click on the save button there, and actually put a file name in place here. All right, there we go. Today's date. All right, now we have a file where all of our work gets saved to. All right, so with the slope solver, we could use the slope solver, and let's see. I was thinking the threshold, but no. Yeah, it would have to be the slope solver or the comparison solver. There we go, the comparison solver. Either one will do the job there. So with the slope solver, let's go in and plug in our MACD. right, so there's our MACD, and again, I'm just going to use the default settings, and let's select our diff plot difference. There we go, and let's put a name in here. All right, so we're looking for a greater than 0.2 slope. All right, so in the slope rules, we can see, is it rising at least 0.2 points? All right, so yeah, a little side note here. Indicators that run in their own subpanel, those values, right, on the right or on the left, those are in points, right? Like, just think of it this way. The MACD doesn't have ticks, right? Only the price of the instrument has ticks, right? So an indicator that has its own scaling values are in points, right? So this, obviously the MACD, you know, if you look at the settings, there's nothing that defines what a tick would be for a MACD. So it's in points, right? The whole number. So yeah, so with indicators on their own, that have their own scaling, right, or in their own subpanel, always use points. So yeah, so if we hit apply, there we go. Yeah, so we can see actually 0.2 is pretty low here. So it's rising more than 0.2. Let's knock this up to 0.5 and see what we get. There we go. So we get a little more absence of an output there. So as it's rising here, right, it's not rising by 0.5, but over here it's rising by 0.5. All right, let's increase that to 1 point. And yeah, even still. Okay, let me keep going here. Let's go 3 points. There we go. I really wanted to knock this down. Okay, great. And let's put 3 points down there. Oops. There we go. Okay, great. Yeah, so as I was kind of pointing out, right, we can all see that's a big jump, right? And that's a big dive, all right, a big fall. So there we go. All right, so yeah, so I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're looking for, what you're trying to do there. But yeah, so as far as this, your third question there, yeah, what measurement scale is appropriate? Yeah, so for the MACD, it would be points. All right. So for indicators on the price panel, then points or ticks. You can use either one. All right. So yeah, you can use either points or ticks. So, yeah. And let's go ahead and do this with the comparison solver as well. So, all right, there we go. Comparison solver. Let's connect that in. All right. So we're going to check to see if the diff plot of the current bar, has a 2-point difference from the diff plot of the previous bar, right? So that's 1 bar back. So, all right, so let's plug in our MACD. Here we go. Select our diff plot. All right, plug in the MACD once again for input B. All right, select the diff again. Now this time we want input B to be 1 bar back, so we're going to use the displacement there, set it to 1. All right, so displacement of 0 is always the current bar. A displacement of 1 is going to be 1 bar back. So now we need to go into the rules and set up the rules just like we did with the slope solver there. And there we go. Get that open. All right, so is A greater than B? All right, so remember B is 1 bar back, so we'll take 1 bar back and then add 2 points. And for the short output, right, it's going to be the current bar, is it less than the previous bar minus 2 points. If we hit apply, right, there we go. All right, so we can see these are identical. So actually, they may not be technically perfectly identical between the slope and the MACD, so always kind of little tip here to keep in mind is I believe that with the slope solver here, these rules, so if you're looking for a slope of at least 2, includes the equals comparison, right? So at least or equal to 2 points, right? So this is, I'm pretty sure this, the formula for this is using the equals equation here, right? Now if I go to the comparison solver and go to the rules window here, right? If you'll notice, I just use the default, which does not have the equals component. So if I go down here and use the equals there, now they are technically both exactly the same. So there. All right, looks like, Mallory's got another question here. Let's see. Yeah, so Mallory is asking if I keep last week's questions. No, I do not. I don't have a running tally of all the questions that were asked. So what happens is any question, that has, that's deemed as having educational, quality to it, those questions are kept as a video, and then, come on, pull up, there we go. And then, once that video is edited, right, then you can go to our training workshops page here. So again, support, second one down here on the menu, and scroll down to the list there. And so, this is really the only record that we have of questions being asked in a previous workshop there. So I guess, so whatever you asked in the previous workshop about the EMA 9 and 14, not with the stochastic, yeah, just resend the question again and we'll cover it again. Yeah, I don't actually recall that specific question about those two indicators. Yeah. Let's see. All right, give me a moment to clean up the Q&A window here. Okay, yeah, all right. So, Melroy, I need some clarification here before I get started on your question. So when the EMA 9 and 14 cross each other, so let's say the EMA 9 crosses up, right? So we'll phrase this in terms of a long signal, right, or a bisignal. So if the EMA 9 crosses above the 14, is the MACD, difference also crossing above the zero line at that exact moment? Or another way to phrase it, is the MACD crossing the average line at that exact moment as well? Let's see. Okay, here we go. There's more information. And all right, yes. Okay, yeah. Let me read this new information here. Okay, so yeah, all right. So the EMA, yeah, has a 2-bar allowance. So yeah, so both indicators need to cross within 2 bars of each other. Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see here. All right, so the follow-up is I need to put I need I need to show the two MACD lines and the diff. I You do okay, yeah. So Melwright, I would suggest that you read up on the mathematics on how the MACD functions. You don't need both. So the MACD crosses the average at exactly the same time the difference crosses the zero line. So yeah, you're doing the calculation twice. That's unnecessary. So I'll just use the diff just to keep it simple. So, but okay. So yeah, let's get this built here. All right. First, let me get my chart set up, and all right, let's get those EMAs on the chart. All right, so yeah, it looks like we do have a couple of places here where we might get some signals. All right, so the question is here, when the EMA 9 crosses the EMA 14, we also need the MACD histogram. So if the EMAs are crossing up, the faster is crossing up of the slower, then the histogram also needs to cross up of the zero line at the same time there. And vice versa. If the faster EMA crosses down of the slower EMA, then the histogram needs to kind of cross down. Now, of course, these signals are from the previous question here, so yeah, so we need to take them off. Yeah, there we go. Right, yeah, so it looks like we might get an EMA crossing down and our histogram crossing that zero line at the same time. So, all right. And there can be a 2-bar allowance as well there between the crossings. So let's build the 2 EMAs crossing each other first. All right, EMA 9 crossing the 14. So let's go plug in our EMAs here. All right, so this will be the faster EMA. So almost always you want the faster indicator in input A, and then the slower indicator goes into input B. So let's plug in our EMA there. All right, going with the 14. Call it good. Okay, there we go. Bunch of crossovers there. Now, since there is a 2-bar allowance, right, to adjust for, the speed difference between the MACD and those EMAs there, what we can do is take the look back period and increase that to 2. And when we do that, there we go. So now we have a 2-bar allowance. All right. So next, let's do a crossover again. And this time, it'll be the MACD difference or histogram crossing over the zero line, right? Okay, so input A, that will be our MACD. There we go. And again, we're just using the default settings. So let's select the difference plot, like so. Now, input B, that'll be our zero line. So let's change the input type to a fixed value. And there we go, 0, fixed value. And so let's connect that in, right? So there we go. There's all of our MACD crossings of the zero line there, quite a bit. There. And again, you can make the decision here. You'll have to figure out like which condition occurs first, right? So if your moving averages are always crossing first, right, then you only need the look back period, to be increased for the moving averages. Now, if the MACD or whatever other indicator you're using, if that one, if that one's doing its crossover first, then you would increase the look back period here. Now, if sometimes they trade off, one's first and the other one's second, they will flip-flop, then increase the look back period for both of these crossover solvers. All right. So I'm going to just do that for now because I don't know. And then next, the final step is to get an AND node in there and connect it up. And there we go. Yeah. So let's see here. Yeah, so here, this short, we can see the moving average crossed over. Actually, that's a little tough to see. Yeah, I did darken it, but let's. Man, all right, let's. Let me see how that looks. Yeah. There we go. All right, that's pretty dark. All right. So we can see the EMAs crossed first, and then the MACD crossed second. Over here, so if you get two signals in a row, that means they both crossed exactly at the same time there. All right. And then, let's see here. So here the MACD crossed first, and then the EMAs crossed. There. All right. Now, and then the last step here is if you want to clean things up, most likely if you're getting two signals in a row, that's probably not a problem. Again, it depends on the details here of how this is being traded. But if you do want to clean things like this up, all we need to do is add a function node and go grab the signal blocker. Connect that in, connect that up, and then we can knock the blocking only needs to be knocked down to 2. Actually, realistically, it only needs to be knocked down to 1. So, there. All right, so that should do it. Let's give this a name here. There. All right, now we have a name here. Let's also, no, I'll name that later. All right, let me see if there's any other follow-ups on here. Okay, yeah, so we're going to add another filter here, or actually the only filter, sorry. This is the filter. So yeah, if the ATR is too large, then block the signals. Yeah, so the ATR has to be below 21 in order to allow the signals here. All right, so let's allow or add in that ATR filter. So we're going to go to the threshold solver there. All right, so we want to know if the ATR is less than 21. So let's plug in our ATR. Oh, there it is. And let's see here. I don't have a period setting, so I'll just leave it at 14. Yeah, so on a 1 minute time frame, it's definitely always below 21 here. But you'll notice, right? So we're looking at just the threshold solver, and we only get a long output. So if we connected that in, right? If we connect that in, right, that removes the shorts. So the ATR filter needs to allow for short signals as well here. So we need to go into the threshold rules and set up these conditions the same here. Actually, the conditions were backwards to begin with. Yeah, well, we're looking for a value that is less than 21. And actually, I didn't even put 21 in yet. All right, so there we go. Now, okay. There we go. Yeah, wow. So it looks like as soon as the market opens, there we go, the volatility increases, and there we go. Now it's decreased a little bit there. Yeah. Let's see if we get any signals. There we go. So yeah, so we'll get some signals overnight when the volatility is really low. And actually, yeah, there was a signal yesterday, a couple of signals yesterday during, no, actually, those were after hours. So, and yeah, after hours. Anyways, yeah, so there we have it. So there's our volatility filter. So, all right, let's see what else here. Looks like we might have one more. And okay, yeah, Melroy just wants to see the signal blocker. Yeah, so the signal blocker, so you can do the math in your head here, right? So remember, both of these crossover solvers, we have a look back period of 2, right? Look back period of 2. So what that means is, let's disconnect that. That means that it is possible to get a signal with 2 bars in a row, which for most people's day trading, that's not a problem, right? Typically, your trade's going to last more than 1 bar. So this extra signal usually is not a big deal. But if you do want to clean that up and reduce this down to 1 signal, then yeah, we can just use the signal blocker. And because we only have, right, we can only get a maximum of 1 extra signal, then that means we only need to block for 1 extra bar. We only need to block 1 bar, right? And again, that's because our crossover solvers have this look back period of 2, so we know the maximum number of signals in a row is 2, because the look back period is set to 2 on both of these, like so. There. All right, so there we have it. And if I remember correctly, I think you were running this on a much higher time frame. Yeah, so there we go. All right. Yeah. So obviously on a higher, let's see. Actually, no, sorry, that'd be backwards. Yeah, let me just double check the ATR. Less than 21. Yeah, a higher time frame should generate less signals. Yeah, let's just check the threshold rule. Yeah, it is less than 21. Oh, oops, there we go. My mistake. I put it on 10 seconds, of course. Of course. Yeah, let's go put it on 30 seconds. There we go. All right, that will generate a lot more signals. There we go. Let's look at the signals now. There. All right, now we have a lot more signals to look at. So, great. So, all right, I'll just put it back on the 1 minute chart there. There we go. Let's see. And all right, well, I think we've wrapped this question up. Okay, well, if there's any more follow-up questions on this topic here, let me know. All right. Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Let's see, what time is it? Well, we're approaching the 1.5 hour mark, so not too bad for the workshop there. Yeah, all right. So if anybody has any other Bloodhound questions, let me know. So, and yeah, you bet. You're welcome, Melroy. Yeah. Um, yeah. So let's see. I'll hang around at least until the bottom of the hour to see if there's any more Bloodhound questions. All right. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's too many people left in the room, but yeah, I'll still hang around till the bottom of the hour just to make sure. So if you have more questions, keep them coming. But if I don't see any more Bloodhound questions by the time we reach the bottom of the hour, then I'll just wrap it up. We'll close it up today a little earlier than average. All right. Looks like Malray, yeah, has a tidy up question. All right. All right. Yeah, so let's see. Melray has a basically a file management kind of best practices question here. Yeah, so all right. Yeah, so I think I'm going to rephrase your question a different way here. So I think what you're asking is like, for example, when, if you're downloading these workshop files here, and let's go and save this. Always remember, always hit save here, because if you don't close the window, then it's not auto saving. It only auto saves when you close the window. So if you've done a bunch of work and then you go to the open and you open another file, that work hasn't been saved back yet, right? So just be mindful of that. Before you open a different Bloodhound file, always make sure you hit the save button there first. So let's see if I can find. Well, all right. So this has 3 tabs in it, three workspaces, or technically these are called logic templates. So 3 logic templates. Yeah. So if we only want one out of the 3 logic templates, yeah, then the question is, should we do a save as first and then delete the other tabs? I mean, obviously that's personal choice, but if you do, delete the logic templates that you do not want, then there's a good chance that you're going to accidentally save over the original file with those logic templates missing, right? So if your intention is to not change the original file, but make a new file with only that one logic template, then yeah, I would say do the save as first, so that way you're not doing any changes on the original file. Yeah, so if you want to make sure that you're not changing the original file, yeah, do your save as first. So, so now technically you can make all your changes and then do a save as, you're fine. But if something accidentally closes this window after you deleted those logic templates, if this window accidentally gets deleted after that, then you're saving back to the original file with those logic templates missing. Yeah. So I guess just from a safety standpoint, change the name immediately and then go make whatever changes you want. That way you're not interfering with that file. So, yeah. So, and of course, if you want to be extra careful, you can always just go into NinjaTrader. You can just open up your NinjaTrader directory, right? Go into your NinjaTrader directory and then go into templates. And you can see right there's your Blackbird templates, but let's go down to Bloodhound. You can go into your Bloodhound directory, and then you can just do a copy and then do a copy and then do a paste. That way you made a copy of that file and then open up the copy of the file and then, and then do your work. Or when you make a copy of the file, you can change the name change the name of the copy right then and there, and then open it up in Bloodhound afterwards. Yeah. So, all right. again, that's file management. There's, a number of ways to what uh, to tackle that task. You well, all right there. So it's 2 minutes past the bottom of the hour, and I haven't seen any more Bloodhound questions coming in. So I think we're done for the day there. All right. So great. All right. Yeah, we'll wrap it up for today. So as always, tomorrow is the Blackbird workshop. So if you have questions for Blackbird, you're always welcome to email those questions for the workshop into support there, or I'll see you tomorrow. Right. All right. If I don't see you tomorrow, then have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye-bye, guys.